Hello everyone, a warm welcome to the second episode of Singapore's Firsts, a podcast that delves into the history of Singapore's innovative firsts and DBS's integral role in this journey. I am Jaan, and joining me is my co-host, Xing.
Thank you, Jaan. In today's episode, we're talking about Singapore's tallest building in 1975. This 50-story superstructure was the forerunner of skyscrapers in Singapore and played a pivotal role in positioning Singapore as the New York of Asia, as termed by the news media in the 1970s.
And that building was the DBS Building. Quick orientation for those who might need it. The DBS Building is today's OUE downtown building, located at 6 Shenton Way in Singapore's Central Business District.
Thank you, Jaan. In fact, this building wasn't just bought or leased by DBS, which was then called the Development Bank of Singapore. It was actually built by the bank from scratch. This marked the bank's first foray into property and was the start of many firsts the bank would introduce to Singapore's urban landscape. Let's now hear from the former general manager of DBS Land, Mr. Loh Soo Eng.
Being a development bank, even in properties, we did a lot of the first of the development. Take DBS Building in Shenton Way, for example. In the 60s, Shenton Way was just practically like car park, empty space. And then DBS Building was the first 50-story building at that time. It spearheaded that area of development.
The building not only catalyzed the area's development, but also secured its position as the tallest building in Singapore, surpassing the height of Bukit Timah, the highest point in the country, by 30 feet.
Absolutely, Jaan. It's fascinating to note that an article in 1969 suggested that it could have been the tallest building in Asia as well.
Let's talk about the planning involved. For a building that tall, meticulous planning was so important. Everything from soil tests to wind deflection must be scrutinized. To support the 612-foot building, 4 huge concrete caissons were installed, ensuring a rock-solid foundation. Their remarkable width even secured them a place in the Guinness Book of World Records. In fact, these caissons were so unique that they even inspired DBS's logo.
But here's the thing that puzzles me. Why would a bank venture into real estate? I mean, it's a whole different ballgame, isn't it? Let's hear from Mr. Lock Sai Hung, a DBS pioneer who joined the bank in 1969, who can shed some light on the bank's decision to venture into the world of real estate.
It had to do with the experience and mindset of the top decision makers. In this case, it was Hon Swee Sen and Howe Yen Chong. Both these persons had a very strong real estate background. So naturally, they will want to take advantage of opportunities to build buildings which would serve the interests of a lot of our people. Mr. Hon was formerly Commissioner of Lands during the colonial days, and when he joined EDB, he was instrumental in terms of the development of Jurong Town Corporation as an industrial estate. They all did a very good job of setting up the infrastructure. When he thought of coming over, already he had this mind of building our own building. So DBS Building was his brainchild. He brought along with him from EDB a very good engineer by the name of 𝗣𝗍cie Wong. He was the engineer in charge of building the infrastructure for Jurong Industrial Estate, Very successful person. DBS Building was a huge project. You'll have site meetings, and then at night, you will hash out the minutes of those meetings, assigning responsibilities. He was very successful in his work because he was a tough taskmaster. I've never seen any project manager or engineer controlling a project as well as what 𝗣𝗍cie Wong does. He got things done. That's the important thing, you see. There was hardly any delay in terms of completion. And then most of those projects were completed more or less within budget, which hardly happens in the building trade.
Speaking of budgets, there were some members of the public who questioned the wisdom a young developing nation spending $45 million on the DBS building. Let me read out this letter dated 16 January 1970. If Singapore wants skyscrapers, why not lift some of the town planning and building restrictions and let the private sector do the job without eating into public funds? If the new DBS home is to be regarded as an investment, what are the expected returns and the timetable envisaged for them? Recent experience with high-rise buildings in Singapore suggests that the poor soil entails pouring millions of dollars into foundations. Are we sure that this is the right time to begin such ambitious projects?
You know, I personally think it really paid off. The building hosted tenants from across the world, from foreign banks to international businesses, significantly contributing to Singapore's prominence on the world stage. And when it was finally sold in 2010, it fetched a hefty price tag of 870.5 million Singapore dollars, marking it the largest commercial property deal of the year.
When it comes to describing the building's impact, DBS's former chairman S. Dhanabhalan sums it up perfectly. He said in the bank's 50th anniversary book, "Nobody would have dared to think of putting up a 50-story building in Singapore. Yet once we announced it and began construction, others also started to build high."
And with that, we conclude today's episode. Thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and stay tuned for our next episode, where we uncover more captivating stories behind Singapore's trailblazing accomplishments.
Once again, thank you for joining us on this journey. My name is Xing.
And I am Jaan. See you in the next episode of Singapore's Firsts. You can catch our podcast on various platforms, including YouTube, Apple, and Spotify.